Chapter 1. The Abrupt Farewell. The sun hovered low over the island, casting long shadows through the classroom windows. Outside, the waves sparkled like scattered gems beneath the afternoon light. From his seat near the back, Talyen sat unmoving, chin propped on one hand, eyes lost in the horizon. Beyond the hilltop on which the academy stood, the sea stretched endlessly. The wind stirred the nearby trees, bringing the calming sound of rustling leaves. Normally, this view would make someone forget all their problems and responsibilities. Today, it had no effect on Talyen. His mind was somewhere else.
Today, everything changes,
he thought, gaze unfocused. Talyen Velorne had just turned 13 and already stood well above his classmates. 5'9", thanks to a growth spurt that had even surprised him. Slender yet defined, his physique bore silent proof of years of disciplined martial arts training. Each movement he made carried a quiet precision, a fusion of repetition and instinct. His hair was sleek, dark silver, falling just past his ears in clean, even layers, framing a face too refined for his age. Sharp cheekbones, a straight nose, and a calm gaze that seemed older than he was. But it was his eyes that drew attention, piercing silver blue, deep and reflective, like moonlight rippling across water. They gave him an air of mystery and quiet intensity, the kind that made people look twice. In the halls of his academy, he stood out, not just for his looks, but for the way he carried himself, like someone aware of the weight on his shoulders and already preparing to bear more.
I won't be seeing this view again for a while,
he whispered in a low, melancholy voice. For the past 8 years, he had attended the Essian Institute of Nanotechnology for Specials, EINS. Though Talyen always thought the word specials exaggerated, it was no hollow title. Every student and every teacher genuinely was special. EINS was one of 7 institutes spread across Earth, in Essia, Europus, Afrara, Nordica, Amera, Osiastra, and Antarix. They weren't just symbols of technological prowess, but bastions of privilege and power. Perched atop wind-swept cliffs on a secluded island in the northern Essian Sea, EINS had been the first of its kind. Founded in the wake of the Ethereum resurgence and the dawn of nanotechnology in the 21st century AP, its mission had been clear: to train those who had received nanite infusions, by legacy, influence, or fortune, those chosen to inherit the next stage of human evolution. Their existence was a closely guarded secret. The curriculum was intense. Martial training, scientific research, and the creative use of nanite systems tailored to each student's affinity. Healing, body augmentation, elemental mimicry, stealth, every discipline was explored, tested, refined. Admission was nearly impossible without deep societal connections. Powerful families, corporate empires, political dynasties, it took influence or wealth. Yet exceptions existed. Ethereum, the ore responsible for nanite production, occasionally surfaced on the black market. Those who could acquire it and survive the infusion became invaluable. The institutes welcomed them with little resistance. Why were Ethereum and its nanites so indispensable? The simple answer? They granted the nanokin superhuman abilities. The truth, however, was much more complicated. The nanokin, those who successfully integrated nanites, understood their connection was genetic, passed down through bloodlines. Few on Earth knew the real origin story, and even they harbored doubts about legends they guarded in their secret vaults. To the world, nanotechnology remained rumor and speculation, government conspiracy, myth, or pseudoscience. Proof was as elusive as aliens or tooth fairy payouts. Talyen Velorne, however, knew. His understanding of Ethereum's true origin, rooted in another world, went far beyond any archive. The power within him did not originate on Earth. Though he appeared merely highborn, the Velornes hailed from Jostenia, a world beyond Earth, the same source of all Earth's Jostenian descendants. It was their blood that enabled resonance with Ethereum, infusion of nanites, and the development of extraordinary abilities. Talyen exhaled slowly. None of that mattered right now. He had been preparing for this day. On the surface, he looked calm and collected, but now doubt crept into his thoughts and anxiety tightened his chest. Today, he was leaving Earth, heading to Jostenia. He sat there deep in thought as the rest of the class buzzed around him. Bags zipped, chairs scraped, and laughter echoed, yet everything sounded distant.
"Hey, Space Cadet!"
Came a voice from his left.
"Earth to Talyen!"
Startled, he blinked as Jae-sung Lee leaned across his desk, her eyebrows raised. Daughter of a powerful crime syndicate boss, she was one of those controversial exceptions EINS had tolerated. Behind her, Kuroyama Kuro Hajime smirked, arms crossed. From a political powerhouse family, his father was one of the 10 most influential members of the Asian parliament. The ever-tall Jamizu Oliwandu grinned at them both. Though students from across the 7 institutes mingled at Eins, it was odd that Ollie, a resident of a frara whose father had worked his way from an infantry soldier to a general in that continent, was here instead of attending a frara's own institute.
Are you planning to move into that window?
Hajime asked.
"You've been staring at it for 20 minutes.
Jae-sung added. Talyen rubbed his neck sheepish.
Guess I got carried away.
Jamizu cocked his head.
You okay, bro? You've been weird all week.
Yeah, just thinking.
Talyen said. His friends exchanged concerned looks. They knew him and could sense when something was off. He hated lying, but he had no choice. Everything about his family and their secrets was off limits. He couldn't tell them he would be leaving Earth for years, maybe forever.
"Come on.
Jae-sung said, offering a small smile.
Last day of the year, remember?"
Yeah.
Hajime added, punching his shoulder.
One last hangout before nanotech bootcamp.
Talyen smiled.
All right, you talked me into it.
The 4 of them made their way down the hill toward the city center of the island campus. It was a hub of clean glass structures and winding walkways, flanked by research facilities and performance fields. They passed a dome-like pavilion where nanite demonstrations often took place, then a research lab, and finally stopped at their favorite spot, an overlook by the sculpture garden with a clear view of the bay. Their conversation up until they reached the garden had been mostly small talk. They talked about their classes, their teachers, and a peculiar drone incident from the previous month that no one ever claimed credit for. Jae-sung performed her now school-famous impersonation of their strictest instructor, known as the Ice Witch, Herin. The nickname stuck not just because of her austere teaching methods, but because her affinity for the element of water had evolved into the ability to conjure ice. That skill had been considered mastery by Earth standards, and Jae's mockery had become legendary, not for its humor, but because Herin herself had witnessed it. Needless to say, the fallout Jae suffered is still spoken of across the school as a cautionary tale. Hajime, true to form, never took his eyes off his hollow device. These gadgets could do far more than phones ever could. He played and typed simultaneously while effortlessly maneuvering through the path, as though he had an extra set of eyes. Jamizu, the tallest of the group, kept going on about his older cousin in Afrara. Her nanite infusion granted her the ability to generate barriers that were now capable of deflecting bullets. He'd told stories of her so often, it felt as if the 4 of them had grown up with her. Earlier versions of the tale were about deflecting stones. This advanced version included bullets.
Now that she's blocking bullets, by the next time I see Ollie, she might just stop fighter jet missiles.
Talyen thought, amused. Then it hit him again. This would be the last time he saw his best friends for at least 3 years. Worse, there was a chance he might never see them again. He quickly shook that thought from his mind. For some time now, Talyen had agonized over telling them he was leaving. Once he did, he'd be hit with a barrage of questions, and he'd have to conjure up fake answers. In the end, he decided to keep silent, choosing to enjoy the few remaining hours they had together, as if tomorrow would never come. As the sun dipped low, a sleek black vehicle pulled up onto the road behind them. A woman with short black hair in a grey suit stepped out first, expression stiff as a rock. A tall, muscular man with a serious air followed. Both wore silver phoenix lapel insignia, the Velorne family crest. Talyen stood.
They're here.
Who?
Jae-sung asked, brows furrowed.
I have to go.
He said.
I won't be back for a while.
The confusion on their faces was almost too much to bear.
Wait, what do you mean?
Jamizu asked.
Where are you going?
Hajime yelled now, looking up from his device. Talyen hesitated.
I can't explain right now, but I'll see you again. I promise.
He hugged each of them. No words. Then he turned and walked toward the vehicle, climbed in, and, without a backward glance, the door shut. The car then slowly pulled away.